NASA says it's time to prioritize the planet Venus. This follows the recent discovery of possible life on the planet.
If you were to take a peek at NASA's records from the 1960s, you'd notice the space agency calling Venus a planet from hell. At the same time, Mars became our destiny. Such careful labeling of the innermost planets isn't a coincidence. During the turbulent space race of the same era, the Soviet Union was fixated on sending costly missions to Venus. The hellish planet showed little to no prospects for life, yet the Soviet space program didn't decommission the Venera program until the fall of the empire. And thanks to Neil deGrasse Tyson, we finally know why. Join us as we break down the declassified photos from Venus taken by the Soviet Union. The fall of the Soviet Union was dynamic in more ways than one. Not only did it change the geopolitical course of the world, but the loss of the empire also sank many secrets with it. It's not unknown that the Soviets had a deep affinity for secrets, from running the most advanced intelligence agency in the world to being hush-hush about their potential alien contact. The former superpower carries numerous mysteries within itself. And believe it or not, before the United States of America took over most of the planetary efforts in outer space, the Soviet Union was leading the game. While the empire has a long history of successful and unsuccessful space missions, its biggest fixation was one inner, hellish planet, Venus. In the Russian language, you'd recognize Venus as Venera, and hence, the subsequent name of the mission that'll span from 1961 to 1983. During the same time, the United States of America was busy sending its mission to the moon, so strategically, the Soviets decided to use their resources elsewhere. And well, we can't say that the entire obsession with the second planet from our sun isn't odd. Did the Soviets plan on using the planet's surface as a viable and unbeatable military base? Or were they possibly looking to colonize the planet after searching for any forms of life up there? It's quite difficult to say why the empire was obsessed with the hellish planet. Since the Soviets commissioned these exploration voyages during the Cold War, they weren't exactly forthcoming with their aims and objectives. In fact, everything we know about the Venusian missions is due to unarchived and declassified evidence. Even then, it's hard to pinpoint what the Soviets were searching for and if they cracked the secret missions. Because, well, the empire didn't land on Venus once, twice, or thrice. That's just elementary, folks. The Soviets launched 28 pricey spacecraft to the hellish planet, and 13 of those entered the Venusian atmosphere while 8 landed successfully. Such sophisticated missions had put the empire in a leading position to lead the space exploration initiative. Sure, the United States of America was a close first too, but NASA was more interested in satellites and technological configuration than exploring life on planets. Its affection for Mars came later, so your history textbook might not tell you this. But the Soviet space program was the first agency to send a probe into the atmosphere of a planet other than Earth, and it has another bunch of firsts on its resume as well. The USSR also became the first state to make a soft landing on another planet. It commissioned the first initiative that brought back images and sounds from the surface of other planets. However, the Soviet space program lost all contact with Venera one before the flyby. Its only touchdown with the hellish planet occurred about 62,000 miles or 100,000 kilometers, yet the probe didn't return any data to the Soviets. By today's standards, it is perhaps convenient to regard Venera 1 as a major flop. After all, it didn't exactly achieve what it was designed to achieve. However, even in a contemporary setting, we'll give the probe a significant point for making that risky flight. Not to mention, the Soviets were literally sending the spacecraft into the unknown. Before the successful iterations of the Venera mission, we had little to no idea about the planet's atmosphere. Perhaps this is why Venera 2 wasn't a whopping stamp of success either. The probe had a similar design to its predecessor, and this mission was the same as well. It was supposed to fly past Venus, record critical information about the planet, transmit it back to Earth, and return home. On November 12, 1965, Venera 2 was launched into space with optimistic ambitions, and Soviets were joyful to see that the probe had completed its flyby on February 27, 1966. The mission was 15,000 miles or 24,000 kilometers away from the Earth's sister planet. The probe hadn't even made its journey back, and it was already doing better than its predecessor. But then, the same old problem got the best of Venera 2 as well. Due to a radiator malfunction and overheating, the probe lost its trajectory as well. On March 4, 1966. The mission was officially declared lost, and once again, the Soviets couldn't get their hands on any viable data. After the Russian scientists started to take interest in the hellish planet again, only then such data was brought into the spotlight. It's being speculated that the Soviets kept the photographs secretive and classified because they couldn't have risked the US messing up with their trajectory. And well, the American Space Agency had more money than their Eastern counterpart. Since they didn't want the US meddling with their affairs and missions, they kept their landmark findings to a bay. But in reality, Venera 13 had successfully landed on Venus in the Novka Planitia in the eastern part of Phoebe Reggio. In an incredible effort, the mission survived for 127 minutes and returned some high-resolution and sophisticated images of the planet's surface. The researcher reanalyzes the pictures taken by Venera 13's cameras, V13-1 and V13-2. Dr. Kshan Fomality talked about three major objects that he was able to take a closer look at. In the first series of photographers, the researcher analyzes a disc-type creature that was susceptible to change in heat or pressure. The second creature is some sort of a black rag that was visible from the probe in the first 13 minutes of the mission. Upon a closer look, the black rag was a vertically elongated black object that looked foreign to Earth. In the images taken in the 27th and 36th minute of the mission, the black rag disappeared without a trace. And lastly, Soviets' prized possession was the discovery of an extraterrestrial scorpion that changed the trajectory of the planet. In the unclassified photos, we can see the frightening creature stuttering around the surface of the hellish planet. Around the 90th minute of the mission, the V13-1 camera took a clear-cut image of the scorpion whose origins are alien or astrobiological. The resurfaced images have ignited a new light into Roscosmos, the Russian space agency. In the new age of space exploration, Moscow has claimed Venus to be its home planet. And by 2029, the country aims on sending a conclusive mission to the planet to explore it up close. And well, our fingers are crossed. Did you find the video interesting? Give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.